All right. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to one and all. I hope everyone is enjoying Christmas this year. And thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon's Southern Tier. I can't hear anything in my headphones right now. And I hope everyone can hear me. I think there's an echo still. I can't tell for sure. And if it is, it's probably coming from OBS and I can't get. I apologize for. But I want to thank you for joining me on your Christmas to share it with you. I hope we're going to have a great day today. We're going to talk about a bunch of things that are affecting us all. And I really appreciate being able to spend every Sunday with you, whether it's the holidays, with regular week. I always enjoy doing this because you are one of the best audiences out there. And you guys just make it wonderful. Really make it a great experience. And I really do enjoy that. If this is the first time that you are seeing the show, the audio is normally much better. Normally the audio is much better, and I apologize if it's got too much of an echo in there. Thank you, Mike Bowie. I always want to start off with the music because it gives a nice touch to the holiday. You know, it's really in the spirit of Christmas, and I really do like to try and keep that somewhat, even though we're going to be talking, even though it's a week away from end of the year. I think it's important because life could be so much worse, and we should love each other. We really should. I try my very best. And I know this year has been, it's a weird year. It doesn't feel like Christmas, right? It doesn't feel like it's that kind of holiday spirit. I don't know why that's the case. Oh, there. And I think I got rid of the reverb there. Apologize. But we got, it hasn't felt like Christmas. I know someone was talking about it on Friday, or they were mentioning it doesn't feel like Christmas. That feels like it doesn't. So much that's happening in the world right now. So much that's annoying us all. And it doesn't feel quite right. But look at the shape of the world. Look at what's been happening. Look at how woke. This is a woke Christmas. Look at what our government is doing. Look at things around the world because of it. And that's what's goodwill. Goodwill to all men. Isn't that what the old saying was? That's what we used to say. In goodwill to all men across the, and that's men as in all mankind, all human beings. And we lost that somewhere along. Between 2020 and now, we kind of lost. I mean, I remember, and I was seeing this, and I was really shocked. This is Rishi Sunak. For those who don't know who he is, Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of England. And Rishi Sunak was at a homeless shelter, and he was feeding the homeless food. That's a great thing. United Kingdom, he's like the president. He went out, he wanted to feed some people. And this is him making a meal for a homeless man. And I want you to hear what he has to say here.
Right, that's that. That's not really. Let me get my bottle. But that is exactly what I'm trying to do. Exactly what I'm trying to do. What do you have? Are you working with? No, I'm actually homeless. I mean, I used to work in finance, actually. Yeah, I heard. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did lots of different things.
So that's the thing that's really bad about this. Rishi Sunak goes out to what would be essentially a soup kitchen in the United States. He goes out to a homeless shelter and he's making a holiday meal for a man in a homeless shelter. And then he's asking him, hey, do you work? Really? You're in a homeless shelter and you're asking him if he's working? That's connecting to the average person. That's realizing the circumstances that you put yourself into. It just doesn't make any sense. This is the problem that we're seeing around the world. We have leaders, we have elected officials. They're not leaders, they're elected officials. They just aren't connecting with people. It's like Joe Biden, it's Rishi Sunak, it's Vladimir Putin, it's Xi Jinping out of China. They're not connecting to their people. We don't see our leaders are no longer reacting to what the people are doing. They're just reacting to whatever the hell is going on in their minds, whatever they think looks good. It's whatever Vladimir Putin wants to say about justifying the Ukraine war. It's Xi Jinping in China who's justifying trying to bring back the lockdowns for COVID. It's Joe Biden who has no idea what's going on amongst the American people as he tries to convince us that he grew up as a Hispanic, that he's lived in every part of the America, that he's just our grandpa. It's just crazy. Mike Bowie mentions, has no one has any money and still they pass a $1.7 trillion budget. Yes, I'm talking about. And this is $1.7 trillion of your money. They bought a bunch of gifts for people around the world, not for you. For if you're an American citizen, they didn't give you a lump of coal, they gave you a lump of soy in the United States. You didn't, because of course, this was a woke Christmas. This was a woke happy holiday, as they want to insist we have to say. This wasn't about giving anything to you. We've given more money to illegal aliens. We gave money to countries around the world. We're pushing our ideology around the world, in particular in Pakistan, $200 million in Pakistan to push our identity politics in that nation. $200 million. I'm going to go over that a little bit later in the program. That's your money, $200 million. How many homeless Americans, how many veterans could be helped? $200 million. How many people could be taken off the streets? We've got the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, a practical progressive who wants to spend $1 billion on illegal aliens, putting them in hotels in New York City, spending $60,000 per illegal alien, almost twice the national average income. This is from your money. Meanwhile, how many people are in New York City and they're homeless? How many people can't afford to go to a hotel or be anywhere? But this is what you get when you have progressive politics, when you have a disconnect between the leadership and the public, where Nancy Pelosi is more worried about what ice cream she has in her freezer and that it's completely full, versus the fact that she has a city, her district, filled with human feces on the road and people living on the streets. This is the problem that we have. James Lucid mentions it costs a lot of money to promote gender equality in Pakistan. We're spending 20 times. We're spending 20 times more money in Pakistan going forward than what we did in 2020. And if you remember, in 2020, I was talking about that and I was screaming about why are we spending $10 million to be able to promote gender gender studies in Pakistan. Why would we do that? What the hell do we want to do that for? Now we're spending $200 million in Pakistan on gender studies. It doesn't make any sense. Why are we spending our money on that in their country? And I know someone's going to say, but Mike, you have to understand, they have a different way of looking at things there. They don't treat women right. Well, let's go back to your first part. It's their country. They have different ways of doing things. Whether I agree with it or not, I like to see women have more rights. Fantastic, sure. But that's their country. That's their problem. Let them figure that out. Why does America have to pay to try and convince Pakistani people not to live by their standards? Why do we have to pay for that? Why is that our issue? They can live by example and see what we do here in America. And as a matter of fact, if they are watching what we're doing here in America, they don't want to become like us. Not only is it that they have to adopt women's rights, but then they see, oh yeah, but then we also have to have she, it, toasters. You have to have people who are going to be transracial, transsexual. They're going to be everything. And they don't want all of that. That doesn't fit into their philosophy of life, their style of life. And they know it's a package deal because just like here in the United States, we went from, well, it's a slippery slope. We kept moving the goalposts until we got to the point where we are today. And God knows where we're going to be in 5 years because we just keep moving the goalposts. It's what, within 5 years, you will see that the government's going to be talking about MAPS, mature minor attracted people. That's it, MAPS. The minor attracted people will be a protected class in America. It will no longer be pedophiles. It will no longer be illegal. We've already seen in California, they passed a bill that if you're within 10 years of the person that you are dating, if you're 10 years older than the person you're dating, well, that's okay. Which technically means that if you happen to be 20 and you're dating someone who's 10, that's not a crime in California. They're going to try and make that a national bill. There's so many problems with that. And I understand they try to make it so that, well, if you're 15 dating someone 18, then it's okay. You said 10 years, not 5, not 3. You said 10. So that a 20-year-old can date a 10-year-old. That's sick. And that's part of that minor attracted people. That's that whole idea of trying to justify pedophilia so that people aren't going to be worried about Epstein Island in the future. They're just going to say, well, it's a map island. It's a minor attracted island. It's okay. No, it's not okay. It's never been okay. It never will be okay. That doesn't mean it's because it's gay. I'm not saying that. You can be completely straight. Straight guy trying to date a 10-year-old girl. That's sick. I don't care. It could be a 20-year-old girl trying to date a 10-year-old boy. That's sick. It's not about whether you're gay or straight or whatever. It's about the fact that that's a minor child and that's wrong. And they're trying to make this legal. They're trying to make this normal. They're normalizing it. And when we are spending all this money overseas, and I'm going to get back to your comment in 1 second, Mike, but we're spending all this money overseas to try and convince Jordan and Pakistan and all these other nations that they should be just like us. And they're looking at us going, you're trying to let adults have sex with children. No, we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be like that. And it doesn't matter how much money you give us. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. We're never going to accept that. And we shouldn't be accepting it here. Mike Bowie says, if they can get Trump's taxes, can we get Biden's or Pelosi's or Schumer's? Well, that would be nice, but here's the thing. I don't care about their taxes. I understand Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, they all became multimillionaires while they were in Congress, while they were in government. It's not that like they have side jobs or they had jobs before they got into Congress. They didn't. This is the only thing they have ever done. So it's obviously there's a problem there. But I don't care about their. I really don't. What I'm more concerned about, what are they doing on the job? I'm worried about corruption. I'm worried about the corruption of society and the way they are trying to convince people through money, our money that we don't have, that they should be just like us as they are destroying what we are. See, we never used to advertise America. That's something that's important. We never had to advertise America before. We just had to be American. We just had to be Americans. We had to live as Americans around the world. Now, was that arrogant? Probably. But at the same time, it was also the wonderful example. Oh, every American can achieve almost anything. Americans can get their own homes, they cars, they can live in apartments. You got to think about where most people in the world live off. I was having an argument online on Larry Sharp's program with a group of communists, black communists. And they were trying to push this idea that communism is great. How people live in most nations. Have you seen what's been going on in Venezuela? And their answer is no, but we've got a better way. We can do it better here in America. No, we can't. It doesn't get better. And everyone used to American because America is great. And now we suddenly have convinced everyone, no, America is evil. It's horrible. It's terrible. Since when? People have lived around the world and, there's almost no way that you can compare America to any other country in the world and say that it's bad. You don't want to be gay anywhere else in the world. You don't want to be trans anywhere else in the world. You don't want to be a woman or a minority or a population, minority of any population group, not necessarily Asian, but you don't want to be the minority in any other country in the world other than in the United States, because we take care of our people so well. Because if you go outside the United States, the way people treat others, it's ridiculous. If you're gay in the Middle East, they throw you off of buildings. Women don't get to go to school. In much of Africa, parts of South America, women don't get to live the same life. They don't get to have the same rights. They're not protected in the same way as you are in the United States. The ultimate protection being the ability to be armed, be able to defend yourself, the Second Amendment. You don't get that around the world. Women get to maybe get the police if they can show up, if they actually decide to do something. That's what most of the world has to deal with. And yet we're trying to tell everyone, no, but those are bad things. Here's the better idea. Here's the better plan. And the better plan is we're just going to tell them they're bad people. Stop doing what they're doing. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. And that's why I wanted to point out Rishi Sunak out of the UK. Guy who's trying to say that he's saying that he's just like everyone else. He's connected. He's just like what we see here in the United States. He's as rich as a Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden. He's a multi-millionaire. He's always been wealthy, always been upper middle class, and yet he's trying to pretend to be a common blue-collar worker like Joe Biden does when he goes around Pennsylvania, Baltimore, when he's running around trying to promote whomever's election. He's not a blue-collar guy. He's never been a blue-collar guy. And he's never, absolutely, in the last 48 years, he hasn't been blue-collar. He's been a member of Congress. He's in the top 1% of the nation. But yet, they want to convince us of things because then they can sell us everything. You can believe that Joe Biden's just average, regular kind of guy. And when he tells you, well, if you don't agree with me, then you must be a domestic terrorist. It's like saying, well, the guy right down the block, my neighbor, was saying. No, it's not the same. It's just they have a massive disconnect. At least that's the way I see it. If you think Rishi Sunak in the United Kingdom is a guy and he's a great example for the United States government, please tell me why. Because I don't think he is. He's got a couple things right in terms of illegal immigration, and we'll get to that in a little. But I don't think he's not genuine. He's not real. And he's willing to fold at a moment's notice. And that's not good. That doesn't promote goodwill, all men. It doesn't help the peace in the world. It doesn't help promote global stability. Because that's not leadership. That's politicking. That's winning the next election. That's maintaining power. And that's the problem that we have. These guys are all trying to just keep power. They're just trying to keep their jobs. They just want all the perks and all the money, and they don't want you to have anything. And the world is losing its peace. Peace on earth is going the wayside to make sure that they're able to have power. And that's a problem. We need to call it out. I want you to remember that right now, actually 2 days ago, in Israel, the Mossad, which is the version of Israel's version of CIA, the Mossad has warning of Iran's growing advanced weapons support to Russia in efforts to enrich uranium. So Iran, which has said since day one they want to see America die, whether you're a progressive or not, Democrat or not, male, woman, doesn't matter. They want everyone in America to die. They want everyone in Israel to die. And eventually they want to get to Europe and everywhere else in the world. And anyone who doesn't believe exactly what they believe, then they want you to die. That is a fact. That is what they've been saying since 1980. And they continue to say that today. Even as they had the Iran nuclear deal under Barack Obama, on the same day that Barack Obama was saying, we've got the Iran nuclear deal, Ayatollah of Iran was saying death to America. So they haven't changed their opinion. And now we see that the Mossad is telling us that they are selling weapons, and we've seen them, that they, even though Iran is denying it, we have seen that they are selling rockets to Russia, who is using it against Ukraine. And we see that they are also trying to build a nuclear weapon, which they've been trying to do all the way through. Okay? It doesn't matter which president, they're trying to do that consistently. And the United States is trying to make a deal with them. They currently in Iran, they are having massive protests because they killed a woman because she didn't cover her hair in public. They have killed protesters because they have been upset that Iran, the government, killed a 22-year-old girl for not covering her hair. That was her penalty. That was the thing she did that got her the death penalty, was not covering her hair. And they're finally fed up with this in Iran, and they're protesting against this, and the United States government is willing to still make a deal. They are sending rockets over to Russia so that they can use them against Ukraine, something that we have spent $100 billion. Over $100 billion is being spent by the United States in a proxy economic war against Russia, supporting the Ukraine. And this is supposed to be the red line in the sand, and the people who are giving the weapons to Russia to use against the Ukrainians that we are supposed to be supporting, and we're going over to Iran and saying, no, but we're still willing to make a deal. Oh, we're really upset about that protest and that woman that died, but we'll make a deal with them. How can you, is that leadership? How can that be leadership? This is from December 23rd, 2 days ago, Friday. And this is the Robert Malley, who is the special U.S. envoy to Iran. And he was speaking to Radio Free Europe. And in his conversation to Radio Free Europe, he said, when talking about and commenting on the ongoing protests in Iran, fighting against a woman that was killed, Mali, U.S. envoy, said, a very profound, courageous expression by the Iranian people of a demand for respect and for respect for their fundamental rights. We respect the fact that they are fighting for their fundamental, God-given, inherent rights. And we're going to make a deal with the people who are killing them for it. Okay, get that? Do you understand how this is a massive disconnect? That the Biden-Harris administration is so desperate for a win, that they are so desperate to be able to save Barack Obama's deal, be able to turn it around from what Trump did and say, no, we've got the Iran nuclear deal and you'll be safe, as they kill women. And this is something that the Biden-Harris administration progressives, we support women around the world by making a deal with the government that killed the woman, that is killing the protesters, that is killing people who are saying women shouldn't have to die for not covering their hair. It's like he's trying to play both sides against the middle, except everyone's watching him do it and going, we see lighting the candle on both sides. You can't do that. You're either with the protesters, which means there is no Iran nuclear deal, or you're not with the protesters and you're willing to do a deal. Either you support the Ukraine and therefore you don't want rockets to go to Russia, or you're supporting Iran as they send rockets to Russia. You can't do both, Joe Biden. And he's counting on the fact that the mainstream media, that the American public aren't paying attention. That's why this stuff is happening over the Christmas break. It's during the lame duck session. They don't expect you to pay attention. This is such a critical week because they do not think you're going to pay attention over the Christmas and New Year's, that you're not going to be paying attention to anything that's happening so they can get away with it all. And that's just not how it works, folks. Because literally, if he can, Joe Biden will make a deal with them tomorrow. If Joe Biden thinks he can get away with it, he would make a deal with Iran tomorrow so that he could turn around and say, see, I just made the world more peaceful. As women are dying in Iran, and Iran is sending out rockets to kill people in the Ukraine. And he will turn around and tell you he made the world more peaceful because Iran isn't going to make a nuclear bomb, maybe cross their fingers, they lied to our face. Again. We have to understand this, and we have to call this out, folks. Otherwise, they're going to do exactly what they're going to do. This is what he's been trying to do since January 21st of 2021. And Iran has been milking this for everything they can get from it. And this is an example of that. That Iran knows that Joe Biden is so desperate for a win. He is so desperate it'll happen. He is willing to give up so much that he is willing to ignore that the Iranian government will kill its own people for women not covering their hair. That they are willing to forgive and forget that Iran is supplying rockets to Russia to use against the Ukraine. That literally he is willing to do whatever it takes to make a deal with Iran, even though it threatens Israel, our only ally in the Middle East, even though it threatens United States citizens domestically and around the world, even though this will fund global terror, something that we know because John Kerry told us that in 2016. And yet they're willing to do it. They are willing to do it because it will make them look good. Makes it look like they actually have a plan. And they don't. They've never had a plan. Just like when he ran away from Afghanistan because he thought it was good. And he didn't think about the consequences. He didn't think what would happen when you leave all the guns and all the bullets and all the money in Afghanistan with a bunch of terrorists and turn them into going to create first terrorist nation in the world. And you're going to create an army for that nation because you left them everything. And then you left 5,000 Americans there. You left 10,000 Americans in Ukraine this year. That's 15,000 Americans around the world just threw away that he won't talk about. He doesn't care. He told us this year twice in February with Lester NBC News and through the State Department in August that if you're American and you're in Ukraine with your kids, you're on your own. Figure out a way to get out of the country. By the way, don't take a plane because there are no planes. Find a car and figure out how you're going to drive out of Ukraine in the middle of a war. This is what Joe Biden said. And this is the guy that's supposed to be a uniter. This is the guy who's supposed to, this is leadership. This is the leadership that the world is supposed to emulate. This is why we're spending $200 million to give Pakistan, to get Pakistan to follow the United States, to copy the United States, to try and be as progressive as the United States. Hot Chick says, well, let me start off. Mike Bowie says, they have no ideology other than making more money. I think it's about money, Mike. I think it's about power. And money goes along with that power. So, I mean, you're not entirely wrong, but I think the priority is power, not the money. Hot Chicks, good to see you. Merry Christmas. And Hot Chick says, Pakistan or Iran, pick one. They're both the same thing. They're both the same problem. We're seeing the United States play both sides of these countries. That we have no plan and no policy for any of these countries. But we have a bunch of your money, and they are spending it like crazy. Oh, Pakistan doesn't want to copy the United States. They don't want to be just like us. They don't want to be progressive like us and have all of the problems that we're having here. They don't want to allow minors to be attracted to minors like they're trying to do here in the United States and California. No problem. Give them $200 million. Maybe then they'll try and follow us. Maybe then they'll try and copy it. No, they're not. They're just going to take the money like they took $10 million. They're not going to do a damn thing different. But we're going to be in trouble. Our inflation rate is going up significantly. It hasn't stopped going up. As much as they want to tell you, inflation down, there is no inflation, it's temporary. Oh, those naysayers. And yet, you go to the store, tell me you're not paying 25, 35, 45% more. You know that you paid another 20, 25% more for Thanksgiving dinner. Tell me Christmas was cheaper. Because it wasn't. It was more expensive. Tell me that it was cheaper for Christmas for 2022 than it was in 2021 or 2020. And the answer is no, it was more expensive. And it's not going to get less expensive. Credit card bills going up. Interest rates are up and they're going to continue to go up. And that means your credit cards are going to go up. Your car loans are going to go up. Your business loans are going to go up. Your mortgage may be going up. Your rent will be going up. This is not getting better. Joe Biden isn't leading. The Democrats aren't leading. And I have to point out, a lot of the Republicans, they're not leading either. There are 9 Republicans that decided to go with this stupid spending bill. They're part of this problem. Because we're doing stupid things around the world, and they're not calling. Why is it that no other Republican, no elected Republican is saying, we do not make this deal with Iran. We can't trust Iran. Because Iran, behind our back, is giving rockets to Russia against Ukraine. Because Iran is killing women and protesters because they're protesting killing women. We can't make these deals. Where are the Republicans standing up and saying that? What are they afraid of? Mike Bowie says, Ukraine is so corrupt, and we keep sending billions and arms and boots on the ground soon. I don't think we'll ever get boots on the ground. Americans should never. That's not our. There's no reason why we ever have an American soldier in the Ukraine. Not our war. It's not our problem. There's no reason why we should ever send an American troop. So that's not a problem. It's like saying, again, we shouldn't be spending money trying to tell Pakistan how they need to live. Why are we giving them $200 million to try and convince them to live a different way? That's on them. If they want to live a different way, that's on them. We're not sending $200 million to the women of Iran to help them out. Why are we giving it to Pakistan? Advisors, we should never, I know what you're thinking of. Mike Bowie's mentioning advisors, like we sent advisors into Vietnam, got us into the Vietnam War. No, we shouldn't. When I say there should be no boots on the ground, I mean there should be no American soldiers in the Ukraine for any reason. Does that mean I want Russia to win? No. Does it mean Russia's going to win? We're always going to. Because if Russia ever gets serious about this, no, not being serious. They have enough of army, they have enough soldiers, they have enough tanks, have enough rockets, nuclear missiles. If they really wanted to get serious, Russia could win this very quickly. I mean, a lot of people being dead to do it. But what they really wanted is very little bloodshed, a bunch of training for their troops, scare the hell out of Europe, and they want it to be to the portion of the Ukraine, southern portion of Ukraine, so that they can have access to the sea, gives them access to the Iranian wheat, uranium. That's what they wanted. He got that a long time ago, and they were seeing if they could get more. This is a war. I said this, and you can look back throughout the year. I said this in February. This is going to be going on years. When people were saying it was going to be a 1-month war, no, it's 3 years. Say again, it's going to be 2-3 years. No matter how this plays out, this war is not going to end for 2 to 3 years at the earliest. There's going to be fighting, infighting, civil war going on for a long time. And how much of American money are we going to put up? We already put in $100 billion. And there's no end in sight. How much more money are we going to put in? We've put in about 4 times as much as any other country in the world. I think we put in double the amount that all of Europe combined has put in. Actually, more than. There's no end to this. And it isn't making the world safer. It isn't making it more stable. And we have no vested interest. Why are we doing it? I mean, going into 2023, our leaders our elected officials need to understand, why are we doing this? Why are we spending this money? We're spending in the new budget, Omnibus bill. We're spending $45 billion to give to the Ukraine. I have a question. Why? Why must we give them $45 billion American money? We have how many homeless people? How many who are addicted to drugs? How many people who are homeless? How many people need mental health treatment? How many people can we help? How many kids can get fed with $45 billion? Why are we giving it to Ukraine when we need it desperately here in the United States? I mean, does that make sense? Does that make sense? And I know there may be an echo, but be patient. Ignore the echo. Dang. Now, mind you, you disagree with me. I think everything is perfectly fine with Iran. perfectly fine with. We're seeing disconnect of world leaders and their public. Call into 607 42 9247. It's scrolling across at the top of the screen. Phone line is on. You can call in from anywhere in the world, share your voice, say what you think. And by the way, you can talk about any topic that you want to. This is Christmas, but we do this every Sunday. Talk about any topic. Maybe you want to talk about. Maybe you Disney. Maybe you want to talk about perfect. Do that. But I think this is because 2023 and the world is not at peace. And this year, even less normally see in any given year. The world is less at peace. As the longer that Harris, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris charge, less we are seeing the world be. More anxiety, danger, the more conflict we are seeing across the means there is no leadership. I mean, there is no better example. And I'm going to get to your comment in 1 second. But there is no better example than the fact that Japan, according to Foreign Affairs, December 23rd, they agree. I've been saying all week since this happened that Japan is going out and they're building up the military because they have no faith. Because the United States has failed. That we no longer are, they have no confidence that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, the Democrats, the progressives, that America will protect them from a North Korea or from China. And that they have to finally go out and get a military, build up a military to finally be able to defend themselves. And that doesn't mean the world's getting more peaceful. That means the world's getting less peaceful. Because now South Korea is saying that they need a military. Because they don't trust Japan. Because those two nations don't like each other. South Korea and Japan don't like each other. China and Japan don't like each other. So if Japan is getting a bigger military, now South Korea is saying, well, if the United States isn't going to protect Japan, even though we have the longest treaty in the history of the world since the 1800s. I believe it's since 49. The U.S.-Japan treaty that guarantees the United States will defend Japan, that we are going to be the army for Japan. That is the longest treaty in the world that has never been changed, never been adjusted. Because that's how confident, since 1960, Japan absolutely confident that the United States would always be to defend them and to protect them. They would never be threatened. And here it is in 2022. They no longer think that's true. They don't believe that's true. Because if they did, they wouldn't be spending $320 billion to build up an army in 5 years. They wouldn't be building up an army to defend themselves against North Korea and from China if they thought America was going to do it. So there is no leadership. And they know it. And North Korea knows it too. Because North Korea fired, what is it? Again, they fired 2 more missiles. That's 4, 6, 8 this month. It's almost 80 missiles this year. North Korea fired another 2 missiles on Friday. That was their Christmas gift to Japan and to South Korea. 2 more missiles. 2 more reasons why Japan is saying they don't trust the United States because they're not protecting them. 2 more reasons why South Korea has no confidence, no matter how many times we send over Kamala Harris to them. And in fact, I don't think they want her to show up. Every time she shows up in South Korea, things get worse. In fact, everyone around the world, I'm pretty sure, do not want Harris to show up because wherever she goes, whatever conversations she's having, it always gets worse. Everywhere she goes, whether it's domestic or foreign, talks about the southern border, it gets worse. Talks about Europe, and she talks about Russia. Now we got the Ukraine war going on. She went over to South Korea twice. Now we have almost 80 missiles fired in 1 year. Everywhere that woman goes, things get worse because there's no leadership in it. Mike mentions that Claudia Tenney, who is a friend of mine and a friend of this program, Representative Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, voted against the budget, as did many Republicans. True, 9 of them. And mind you, a couple of them are people who were voted out of this, that Republicans completely rejected them and will not be coming back to Congress. But this is a lame duck. They claim to be Republican, and they voted for them because they don't care. Sane. And yeah, the budget. I wish it was just that we were giving Pakistan $100 billion. I'm going to get into that in a little more detail later in the show. I wish it was only, if the only thing that we were doing were giving $1 million studies, try and make and woke, you know what? I'd live with that. If that was the only thing, not. It's like $400 billion, not million, billion, $400 billion waste still. This is your money. This is money that's coming out of your pocket. This is money that's going to make it more expensive to buy eggs, buy bread, buy milk, be able to get meat, put food on the table for you and your family. This is hurting your business, your business that you work for. This is making life difficult around the world. And by the way, none of this is helping the food crisis, yet another issue that we have been all year. I think we said crisis every single video all year, 52 times this year. Well, minus the 4 that we were kicked off of YouTube for because of the 4 suspensions. That would make it 48 times this year. Every time we speak to you, public, we've talked about the crisis being prepared for. Where's the White House? Where's the money in the budget? Where's the plan? We just spent $1.7 trillion, and there's nothing in there that says, and this is how we crisis, 30% less food for the world, 30% less food for American citizens. Yes, American citizens aren't going to starve like Sri Lanka, Panama, Eritrea, most of Africa. No, we're not going to starve like that, but we're still going to have Americans who are going to go hungry. We have kids in America that are going to go hungry. We don't have a plan. Our leaders won't even admit that it's a global food crisis. This isn't even something, this isn't politics. It's a global crisis. It's a fact. Sorry, Mike. The sound's getting worse. I'm sorry to hear. I tell you, folks, sound quality normally so much better. Something changed in OBS and programming. Can't find line in the code that is, and I can't fix it because I was on with the Liberty First Foundation Friday. Same microphone, same soundboard, same computer, no echo. But they weren't using OBS. I'm using OBS and now there's an echo. I'm frustrated. I really am. I'm trying to get around it. I apologize. But I wanted to highlight these because time world is goodwill for all men. We're not seeing the leadership is making. In fact, we don't have the leader. We are seeing the world less because whether it's Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they're failing. They're supporting the bad guys. They're trying to sell people on bad ideas. They're wasting our money. And the world sees it for what it is. And unlike the world, the rest of the news media around the world isn't woke. So they're not getting sold the same story we're getting sold. I'll give you an example of Rome. Al Jazeera. How bad it is. Al Jazeera wrote this story that migrants, illegal aliens, face freezing Christmas, U.S.-Mexico border. I want you to think about it. First of all, they're using migrants. You know who calls illegal aliens migrants? Progressive. Because they don't want to say the word illegal alien. They don't want to remind people breaking our law. They're breaking immigration law. They're entering our nation. And so he's saying, well, these migrants are freezing because there's this cold wave. Once in a generation cold wave. By the way, I've been alive for 54, almost 55 years. Makes about 3 generations. I've never heard any. There is like, this is a once in a generation. I've been alive for 3 generations. No one's ever said this. We've had blizzards, we've had cold snaps. This is not new. It's called winter, especially in the Northeast. This isn't surprising. This isn't shocking. A lot of the nation, like here in New York, we didn't even get normal amounts of snow, New York snow, in this storm throughout New York State. This isn't coldest. I've been in New York City, living in winters in New York City, not bad years, minus. That's without the wind chill. This isn't the worst storm that's ever happened in a generation. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just another winter. It's not even a terrible winter when it snows every other day. It's not terrible winter. Bad cold snap. But this isn't like, oh my God, cyclone. No, it's just winter. Just winter. It's not the first time that we've had air from the Arctic come down to America during the winter. It's not new. But that's part of the problem. We keep saying these terrified about. We're not about, oh my God, it's gotta be it's bomb cyclone. It's once in a generation. No, it's not. Till next winter. There'll be more snow. It'll be cold, just like it is now. Maybe worse. Because it's winter. And they'll say the same thing. Oh my God, it's twice in a generation. Oh, so bad. It's because they're using these words to play with people's minds. And so I was saying about the migrant, using the words here. They're using the words that come from America to make Americans feel guilty, feel bad. Hundreds of migrants, they're not migrants. They don't have a legal right to be in America. They don't have a legal right to be in Mexico. Hundreds of migrants are almost certain to spend Christmas in crowded shelters or on the streets of Mexican border towns amid a winter storm. And they knew that. They came up. That's why most illegal aliens come during summer and spring, because it's warm weather. And they know that. But America has been such an open door policy. The floodgates have been wide open, especially with Title 42. It's been such an open door with 5 million aliens entered the states under the Harris administration, they thought they'd get through. They thought they would just walk on in. They thought they had no problem. So they weren't thinking of a bomb cyclone. They weren't thinking of winter weather. And you know this is true because The Guardian, a storm is coming. Migrants stuck to U.S. Mexico border as temperatures plummet. Yeah, they did that to themselves. We didn't invite them. We didn't tell them. The Biden-Harris administration said, yeah, if you show up, you'll be in. But the law doesn't invite them, want them to be here. That's on them. They knew it was winter. They knew that it's illegal to enter America. So they firewalled the story. But basically, in this story, without the firewall, the Guardian was talking to Joe Robles, and in Texas, on the other side of the border in Mexico. And he said he was trying to get into America. He thought he would be able to get through, cross the border. And you know where he was going? Chicago. He was going to go to Chicago to be a construction worker in the middle of winter because he had a job waiting for him. I want you to think about it. These illegal aliens want to come into the United States. This guy is going to Chicago, one of the most progressive cities in the entire United States, that he a job as a construction worker in the middle of the winter in the one of the most northern states in the United States off the side of a lake. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Maybe he was going to Chicago, but I don't think it was because he was going to get a job. It was because he was going to get taken care of by the politics. And he knows that's one of the best places to go. Can't make it to New York, can't make it to California, go to Chicago. But why is this our problem? Why is it my problem? Why are we the bad guys that this guy illegally is trying to get into the United States to go to Chicago, get taken care of by taxpayers in Chicago? Why is that my problem that he doesn't get to do that? We're not obligated to take him. That's not part of what America is. We don't have an open door policy. We have laws for a reason. Hell, Sunak, the same guy who can't figure out that homeless people are the people he was serving. He went to a homeless shelter and he was serving people and didn't realize that they were homeless in the homeless shelter. Okay, that same guy who's that dense decided to shut down open border policy for England. And here in the United States, we can't figure. And this isn't making the world more stable. This isn't increasing on Earth. I mean, if really trying to be kind to the people, if Joe Biden was trying to help the aliens, then he would have never told them enter. He would have never had the border being as open as it is. He would have shut the border, said it's winter. You're not going to get in. Don't come to America because you're going to freeze to death. Don't come to the border. You won't get in. You'll freeze to death. Stay where you are, wherever you're living, in your country, in your home, because you won't get into America. See, that would be kind. That would actually be nice. That would actually improve peace on Earth. That would actually help these people by telling them, you can't get into America. It's a crime. It's legal. If you come in, we will deport you. More importantly, you can't come here now. Oh, Joe Murray, Merry Christmas. It's so happy. I'm glad you joined me. And I know audio has a problem. Mike Bowie says, a reporter was filming the aliens in El Paso and was asked who gave her permission to film the illegal aliens. And the reporter said, Who gave you permission to come into our country? I love that. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal in the middle of those. Remember, a lot of people saw that line when they thought Wednesday the title was going to go away, and they had a line of 9,000 illegal aliens trying to enter the United States. 9,000. And they were all trying to come into. Why are you filming me? Trying to come into my country. Of course I can film. You don't want that. Your country says the rights in your country are that no one can film you. Stay in your country. It's our country. I mean, seriously, has no one ever thought of the idea on the progressive left? Have they not ever thought it is more kind, especially in the middle of the winter, where we have these kinds of storms, these nor'easters, that tell all the illegal aliens, you can't enter. You're not allowed in. The border isn't open. The door is closed. You can't come in. Don't come during the winter. How many people's lives are we saving by doing that? Has the left ever thought of that? With their open door policy, show up whenever you want to. There is no such thing as a border, except when it's at Martha's Vineyard, except when it's at their homes. Then there's absolutely a border. Try and get over to Nancy Pelosi's house, there's a wall. Chuck Schumer has a wall. AOC has a wall. They have walls. But for everyone else, it's an open border. How evil is it to tell someone, yeah, show up in America in the middle of the winter and, you should probably get in. Tell them that and know that they're not going to get in. That's evil. That's evil, knowing that they can't get in because it's a crime and we're not going to let them in, that they're going to have difficulty because Title 42 isn't lifted. They're not just getting a free pass to walk into America. Did no one think it's more evil to tell them to show up than to tell them not to show up? I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong with that? Is it worse to tell them to show up knowing that they're committing a crime and they can't win? Or is it more kind to tell them you can't, won't, and we don't want you? Really want to hear what you remember. Point. Don't worry about my microphone and audio. It will be heard clear as a day. 607-222-9227. Call in. Agree with me. Talk about something else if you want to. Whatever it is that's on your mind. You want to say Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, you want Hanukkah, New Year. No problem. Call in whatever you want. But I'm just upset about it. Because it's like what's happening in Japan, like what we're seeing happening in Iran, like what Korea. We're seeing that because there's no leadership, there's no one willing to stand up and say something simple, people are getting hurt around the world. The lack of leadership, lack of having the balls to say no, it's hurting people a lot around the world. That's not a good thing. We need to be able to say these things. And don't think like this is a brand new scenario. 75% of Venezuelan aliens, Venezuela, they have been fed. And I love the way AP puts it out. 75% of the 6 million Venezuelan migrant aliens go unfed, unhoused. This is a story that's being sent to the United States. This is targeting the United States market. It's not our fault. It's not our problem. It's just not. And their answer is, here. Paragraph. Increasing numbers of Venezuelans crossing Central America and Mexico and are arriving at the because there's so many of them. Because there's so many of these Venezuelans in other countries and just failing. They're walking through those countries to get to America. In fact, there are 4 times as many people trying to get to America than in 2021. According to the AP, Venezuelans recently surpassed Guatemalans and Hondurans, become the second largest nationality stopped at the U.S. border after Mexico. In August 2022, Venezuelans were stopped 25,349 times, up 43% from July. From July of 2022, when 17,602 were stopped. Think about that. We increased 43%, roughly 8,000 people more 1 month, going from July to August. And that's 4 times as many people as in August of 2021. Why are we not saying don't come? Because it's not making life better for them. They are being, because they're trying to get to the United States, walking 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. They have no home, have no food, have no money, they have no protection. It's worse for them doing what they are doing than if we said the border is closed, can't get in, stay where you are. We are actually hurting these people by being more progressive. And you know what's funny about that? Kamala Harris, for her part. Kamala Harris, for her part, is upset that no one is saying that she's a great vice president. Kamala Harris is upset because no one is saying that she's great, that she's not getting positive press. Kamala Harris whined, according to the New York Post, whining because she's not getting, media isn't showing her as a strong leader. Because you're not a strong leader, Kamala Harris. You're not a strong leader. Joe Biden isn't a strong leader. There's nothing strong about either of you. But notice that she's not upset or worried about the at the southern border that are freezing because they're trying to break our laws, which is not our problem. That they're trying to become part of our problem. That they're trying to add to the problems that the United States already has. And she's not upset with them. She has nothing to say about that. She's not out there. Remember when she went to South Korea and encouraged North Korea to send off more missiles? She's been a failure at everything she's done. And yet, she wants someone to tell her, great. She's upset because no one is saying that she's great. Well, Kamala, here's the thing. You have to do something good to be praised for being good. You actually have to do something great for someone to call. He hasn't done anything great. Just like Joe Biden hasn't done anything. Hell, they haven't done that's good. And I know the bots will probably say, oh, well, Joe Biden, president, had. Let's think about it. What has Joe Biden done that has been a success story? He ran away from Afghanistan, created a terrorist nation where women are being abused in Afghanistan now. Progressives who want to protect women created a scenario in Afghanistan where women are being abused. He abandoned 5,000 American citizens. He funded and gave weapons to terrorists, even though he tells us in America, women, 5 foot tall women, can't defend yourself against 6 foot tall men. you don't get the right to have a firearm, but he gave weapons to terrorists in Afghanistan. You notice the mixed messaging. He wants to give weapons to Ukraine, let them defend themselves. He won't allow American citizens to defend themselves from criminals. Mike Bowie says, they picked Kamala because she would make Joe look good. Kamala makes it, but in the worst way possible. It's that example of she screws up so much that everyone looks good because they didn't screw up as she did. The answer is, oh, we got to keep Joe because Kamala will really screw it up even worse. He's so bad that we need Joe because he's not as bad as her. That's not a winning scenario. That's not good. Let's be the reason why Kamala was picked, because she's a woman, presumably. I'm not a biologist, but I presume she's female. And because she's of color. That's it. She is a woman of color. And that's her vote. Because that's the thing. The woman of color, we have to support. I'm not voting for her. Yeah, but she's not good. It's not worth it. She is a complete failure at everything she has done, and there's nothing new or surprising about this. It's nothing more than we expected always. It's always a failure. So why is anyone shocked or amazed or surprised? Because it's not a shock or surprising. This is what she had to say for her. Kamala says, there are things that I have done as vice president that fully demonstrate the strength of leadership as vice president that have not received the kind of courage that I think Dobbs did receive. Okay, what did she do? What did Kamala Harris do? She didn't take care of it. She's in charge of the southern border. Didn't take care of it. The problem is worse. It got worse after she got put in charge of the southern border. Help South Korea. Help Ukraine. She's been ineffective everywhere she has gone. What does she want credit? Because she's been black, talking about black people vote black. Because she ran around in 2022 telling black people vote Democrat. That's what she needs to have more people. She needs more praise for telling black Democrats. Like Bowie says, he says, yes, but they don't. But I don't think they are going to bump Joe next year now. I still think they're going to get rid of Joe. I've said it all year. Actually, I've said it for more than a year. That I think Joe Biden is going to get removed for the 25th by the 25th Amendment because he's stable. Expected that to happen by now. Expected that we're going to be talking about it in Congress. But it seems that I'm wrong. It seems they're not talking about it yet. And it's partially, I'm sure, because they don't trust Kamala. She's done nothing right. There isn't a single act of policy ever. And I think that's holding them back a little bit. But I don't think Joe Biden could make it years. I don't think he has the mental fortitude or the capability. I mean, he's old. And he's deteriorating. Just sad. It really is. It's not a joke. It's not a political. He's falling apart. And I know a friend of mine on Friday for the First Foundation Roundtable, and one of my friends, Frank, was saying on the program, no, Joe Biden he's still sharp. Still a sharp man. And I agree with Frank that 20 years ago, Joe Biden knew what he was talking about. He was still horrible but at least have a conversation with anyone. He could spin you around. He could sound real good. Can't do that anymore. Now he can just say, yeah, if you question him, you're the bad guy. Somehow you do something. I don't think strength. There's nothing about the Biden-Harris administration from anyone in there, Buttigieg, you name it, Eric Garland, not one of them looked like someone who has any strength or leadership amongst them all. One of them had brass balls, not one. Look at what she's saying. She's upset and complaining to the news media because they're not saying nice. She's upset, and her gripe, someone isn't telling her she's great. Really? Kamala Harris, this is what you think the vice president about? This think about that someone's supposed to, when you haven't done anything, when you haven't earned it. Her problem is that no one's standing up. This is such so progressive politics, snowflake, that no one is telling her that she's wonderful, great, because she's a woman and she's a woman of color. And because no one's saying that about her, because she's done nothing to earn it, then, oh, there's a problem. Can there be a problem with it? I don't understand. I don't understand. They keep trying to convince us don't exist, that don't make any sense, that just have no connection to reality whatsoever. Doesn't maybe let's look at this from the point of view about the spending. Okay, let's think about the omnibus. Get it from there. In this omnibus, $1.6 trillion. The number so large, nobody can conceive of that. Nobody has a clear, realistic how much money. $1.7 trillion. More money than the world made. Half the government don't combine the bottom 25%, put it all together, and they don't even get close to a trillion. Stupid amount of money. Stupid amount of money, $1 trillion. We're spending $7 trillion. What are we spending 1.7 on? TikTok restriction. This is from the BBC. House passes $1.7 trillion U.S. spending bill. What's in it? Okay, this is coming from the United Kingdom, where they're overseas, so they can actually. The question is, what are we spending the money on? $45 billion for the Ukraine. Why? No one's asking the question. Why? Why are we giving Ukraine our money for their war? Now we gain nothing. If the Ukraine won tomorrow, we get nothing. They can't pay us back. They're a small podunk country. They can't pay us back. They don't have the money. So we're just giving this money away that we'll never see again. Why? We gain nothing. That's $45 billion right there. Then we have January 6th. They call it count forms. It's the January 6th trial. For the January 6th show that told us exactly what we knew it was going to tell us. The day before they started televising the committee, we knew they were going to say Trump is guilty. The day that they created the January 6th committee to look into that incident, we knew that the Democrats were going to say that Trump was guilty. This has been 2 years in the making, and we already knew the outcome. Everyone knew what the outcome was going to be. They didn't show us any new evidence. They didn't convince us of anything. In fact, they hid more evidence than they actually showed us of evidence. They literally did this like a Hollywood movie with all the editing that they were trying to cut and paste all the information so that they can get to the conclusion that we all knew they were going to make. Trump's guilty. He can't run again. That's all they care about. That's what this whole thing was about. And we spent millions on it. And that's in the bill. That's part of the TikTok friction. Really? This is part of the Omnibus bill? We're spending money. Part of the $1.7 trillion that we're spending, stop people from using TikTok, to restrict TikTok from the government. You know, the government websites, the government office across this country, the federal government, they have blocked certain websites from there. It's very easy. It's a piece of code. It doesn't cost millions or billions to write a piece of code into the firewall that already exists for government agencies. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we spending money on this and wasting money on this? The thing that really upsets me, and I'm going to get into this detail, is Capitol Police. Capitol are getting an extra $100 million. Capitol Police, whose only job is to protect Congress in the Capitol. Not in New York State, California, not in Kansas, not in Wisconsin. No. The job of the Capitol Police is to protect members of Congress in the Capitol. Why they're called the Capitol Police. They're not supposed to have authority anywhere else in the United States, yet they do. They don't answer to the public. There is no public oversight. They don't even answer to public official. They only answer to the Speaker of the House, Congress. There is no public interaction with the Capitol Police, which is why the January 6th committee got to hide all of the video that the Capitol had in the investigation for January 6th. And we're giving them $132 million. And do you know why we're giving them $132 million? Real simple. Because the Capitol Police is expanding every state in America. They are going to have offices of the Capitol Police in every single state, 50 states across the. Why? Why do they need more police officers in Wichita, Kansas? Why do they need more police officers in Utah? Why do they need them in Arizona? Why do they need their Capitol Police? It's not like members of Congress are like, well, we have to protect the members of Congress. We have state police. We have local police. They can have private security. Cori Bush spends $70,000 a year on private security. Gets paid $200,000 a year. Can afford it. Nancy Pelosi can afford. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi gets Secret Service already. You're not making Nancy safer than Secret Service is, which also makes you wonder about Paul Pelosi and how the guy got in the house. That's another. So this doesn't make sense. And we should be calling this out and saying, no, Capitol Police should not get 100. They should not be expanding outside of the Capitol which is where their authority ends. They have no power anywhere else in the nation. They shouldn't be there. But what do you call the police who have power that is directly coming from the federal government and has no control by local government? Or these are like police, like the KGB. It's like FSB. These are Russian. This is scary, folks. This is authoritarian. They're just expanding the government, spending your money to put in a police department, law enforcement agency has all the power over you and none of the oversight. You can't complain, can't even see the record. That's one of the big things I have a problem with in this spending bill. Democrats were giving out goodies to everybody except you and me. They're like, oh, Capitol Police, you guys did such a great job with January. 130 billion extra. To do what? What are they going to do that isn't already being done by someone else? We have gender equity grants that are being giving out. Giving out gender equity. As part of the Omnibus spending package, fiscal year 2023, the U.S. Senate designated $200 million to promote gender equality in Pakistan. We're talking about earlier. Yes, the Stasi. That's correct, Mike. Like Billy mentioned, what do you call, what's another name for the Capitol Police? Stasi. So we were talking about this earlier about Pakistan. We're now seeing that the left is trying to tell us this is a good thing, that we're going to spend $200 million to promote gender equality in Pakistan because it addresses various multitude of issues, but it's a good step in U.S. and U.S. relations. Another positive development that this is a 20-fold increase from 2020, where we gave them $10 million for the same reason. So in 2020, we gave them $10 million to make women failed. Did not work. So now we're going to give them $100 million for the same thing. In a nation doesn't have a constitution. In a nation, women don't have equal to start with. In fact, human beings don't have rights to start with. They have whatever the rights the Pakistani government gives them. They don't have inherent rights in Pakistan. Not America. Not the same rules. Culturally, they're not the same rules. Women aren't the same as men in Pakistan by culture as well as by law. And yet we want them to be equal, and we're spending $100 million trying to sell them on this gender queer identity politics miasma that's affecting America, that is failing in America. As much as we get told about this every day, everywhere, entertainment, in the movie, music, in sports, keep being told this, no one accepts it. I don't understand. This is what we're spending money on. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Dan Bishop, Representative Dan Bishop, mentioned, first I want to mention, he pointed out that you would have to spend for 16 hours reading 4 pages per minute without a single break for 16 hours in a row be able to read the bill. Big. This is ridiculously. There is no way in hell not one member of Congress has read the whole thing. They voted on it, they passed it. Not one of them read the whole thing. There are news agencies in America right now that have not read the thing through. That's why we keep finding stuff in there, like what's happening in Pakistan, like the fact that we're giving $50 million to Venezuela. Venezuela, remember, the same country, 6 million people left because they were starving to death, because it was better for them. They're having a better life living in the streets, starving in foreign countries than they would have in Venezuela. Think about that. That's how bad the socialism is in Venezuela, that people are willing to starve to death at the border of the U.S.-Mexico border in the middle of a generational snowstorm, a nor'easter. That's a better life to freeze to death on the streets of Mexico than live in Venezuela. That's how bad socialism is. Think about that. That's how bad it is. Forget the fact that we're saying it's an open door. Forget about being let into America. They are having a better life, freezing to death, starving to death in Peru, in Chile, in Argentina, in Brazil, in all South America. They're having Central America. They're doing better, freezing and starving to death than living in Venezuela. That's how bad socialism is. And yet, we have politicians, and they didn't notice the clause in there that says, we're going to give Venezuela $50 million. Why are we giving Venezuela $50 million when they're not feeding their people as is? Mike Bowie mentions, what will this country look like with 2 more years of this destruction? They will have to build a wall just to keep us in. Well, that's what China was for. The Great Wall in China was people. And I believe. But yeah, right, Mike? This is crazy. In 2 more years, imagine 2 more years. Already 69% of the American people are consistently saying throughout the year, we're on the wrong path. And everything we can point to, everything that Joe Biden has done, everything that Kamala Harris has done, Buttigieg, Merrick Garland, everything they've done attacked the American people and has made the world less safe and less free, less stable. And we have been showing you that all year long. It's not like this is a brand new thing. It just started happening. All year, they've done nothing about the food crisis. All year, they've done nothing about the aliens. All year, they have done nothing to stop North Korea. They have done nothing to slow down China, to protect Japan or South Korea. They have failed the people in the Ukraine. Every single thing they have done has failed. They have made it worse, and because they are such failures with so little insight onto the problems that are facing the world as well as Americans, the rest of the world is just going crazy. And now we're spending $1.7 trillion on absolute stupid things like giving money to Venezuela to be nice to their people. Something that they aren't doing. It's not like we haven't paid them $376 million for this, and they still aren't taking. But you know why we're giving them $50 million? We're giving North Venezuela $50 million. It's not to take care of their people because we want oil. Remember that just 2 weeks ago, the Biden administration started letting American oil company go and get oil out of Venezuela, which is helping Venezuela. And now we're giving them another $50 million on top of that. We're buying oil. Democrats always scream about oil, full of oil, that we've gotten to worse for. Same thing. I think it's actually even less honest and less. It's even more destructive. Oh yeah, we're $50 million. It's part of the omnibus, part of where your money is going, what you paid for. This is what Democrats think that you want to give them power to spend money this way. So it's $250 million that we've identified. 200 million going to Pakistan, 50 million going to $250 million, separate of anything else. And then you add in another $45 billion for Ukraine. You've had $300 million that we are spending on other countries for no damn good reason. For no reason whatsoever. 300. We have identified together in this show so far, $300 billion to be paying for school children get lunch and breakfast every day. That this could be to give housing for the homeless and for veterans and veteran health care. We could pay for all of that, not just one of them, all of those things for $300 billion. We could make homes for the homeless. We could get veterans off of the streets and help get them better health care. We could feed poor kids across the United States for $300 billion. And instead, we're trying to teach the world to be more progressive. Tell me how that's not going woke and going broke. Tell me how that's not going woke and broke. That's $300 billion. For the people who are saying, we have to take care of people, we have to be nice and kind, we've got to be unifying, give everybody a hug, and we've got to take care of these people around the world. $300 billion would have taken care of the poor kids, would have taken care of all the homeless in America. It would have helped with mental health. $300 billion. Mike Bowie says, there will be no country. We are answering to the UN or WHO or Bill Gates. Maybe. And you know what? I want to make sure Republicans deserve to be called out for this too, because they're part of the problem. In November, 150 Republicans voted to make sure that earmarks would continue to be in this bill. Things we're talking about right now, you know, the money for gender studies, the money for Venezuela, this is all earmarked. So Republicans, they voted for this. They made sure that this would be okay. They voted so that Democrats could spend money this stupid. And when I say they're spending money this stupid, where is it? Yeah, here. We have one of the things, and this is coming from the Committee on Appropriations. This is Chairman Patrick Leahy on some of the spending that he wanted to do. We're spending $2.9 billion on democracy. Democracy program. When they say democracy program, what does that mean? To make sure that the news media has freedom of press so that the public has freedom of speech. They're trying to make sure people have the First Amendment around the world. Freedom of expression, freedom of association, assembly, and religion. It's the First Amendment. They want to spend $2.9 billion to promote the First Amendment around the world, and these are the same people who are, what? Twitter files. They're spending money, over $3 million with the FBI paying to suppress people from being able to express themselves, from being able to speak up, from being able to assemble. These are the same people. The same government that is using Omnibus Bill to try and tell people around the world, according to them, to promote the First Amendment is honestly only spending $2 billion to tell the world, the entire world, that they should have the First Amendment. But we're spending $200 billion to tell Pakistan to be able to be nice to women. The priorities here? It's useless. See the priorities. $3 billion for the First Amendment around the world. $100 billion for one country to maybe be a little bit nice to women. They don't really care about the First Amendment. And we know they don't care about the First Amendment because of the Twitter files. We've seen what they do. They're not trying to promote free speech. They're trying to promote their speech. They're trying to promote progressive ideas, socialist ideas, and socialism. They want to be more autocratic and dictatorship, totalitarian, than they want to be anything else. This is terrifying. And I wish that were the only thing. Here it is. When we're talking about all the spending, let's talk about the waste. How much money they are throwing away. Okay? That these are the same people who spent $140 million. $140 million to build a spa. A 11,000 square foot spa. Now you may say, Mike, what? Where'd that number come from? This comes from Senator Rand Paul. This is coming from our government. This is federal government talking. This is a confirmation. Okay? We're spending $140 million to build a spa. We spent $190,000 to put espresso machines in the DOD. Almost $200,000 for espresso machines for the government. We spent $1.7 billion to keep 77,000 buildings empty. How many people who are homeless could be there? I mean, if you got to put the illegal aliens somewhere, instead of putting them in a 5-star hotel, spending twice as much money as the average American citizen will make in a year, rather than doing that, how about those 77,000 empty buildings? Why not put the aliens in one of those? They only spent $1.7 billion leaving the place empty. There's furniture in there. There's electricity. There's just no people. That's ridiculous. This is the kind of waste we're talking about. We're spending $210 million. We're giving $210 million to the country of Jordan for basic education. By the way, the country of Jordan is one of the richest nations in the world. One of the richest nations in the world. It's part of OPEC. It's one of the bigger members of OPEC. It is a rich nation, and we are giving them $210 million so that their kids can get a basic education, something they already pay for. $210 million of your dollars, your money. You think you might be able to buy a couple of school lunches for kids with that? That's what we're doing in Jordan. We'll pay for the kids in Jordan to go and get a free lunch. We're not doing it here in America. One that really gets me the most, though, we spent $115,000, swear to God, folks, researching if Thanos could snap his fingers wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. You remember the Infinity War. Everyone saw it. Biggest payoff, biggest movie in the world. Biggest movie in the world. And it is literally, they spent, somebody convinced the Department of Health and Human Services. Oh, no. Wrong department. There it is. Puppy, mice, drink. There it is. Here it is. So the National Science Foundation gave Georgia Tech $118,000 of your money so that they could go and figure out that if a cartoon character, a cartoon super villain, a super villain from the comic book that was turned into a movie supervillain, they wanted to see if he could actually snap his fingers in a metal glove. And these guys, progressives, gave them $118,000 to figure out if you can snap your fingers in a metal glove. By the way, the answer is no, you can't. No friction. So you can't snap in a metal glove. Why? Why in the hell would we ever do that? What is the point? I understand. Somebody got to have a great vacation. Somebody got to go and cosplay like the best cosplay ever on the government's dime. That they got to go out and go to all the Comic Cons and have the best time of their life in hotels and just, living up in the minibar. Spent, what is going on? Mike Bowie says, they aren't looking out for anyone. They're looking out for themselves along from this CIA, IRS, Google, and Twitter. Yes, they really are. And they really are. When we're giving out grants so that someone can cosplay, then yeah, we're wasting money. They're not trying to help. They're not trying to help the American people. Cosplay and say Thanos couldn't. Because somebody on Twitter, some uber geek, some nerd, got in an argument with another nerd and said, well, Thanos can't snap because he's wearing a metal glove. And because two uber nerd geeks got into an argument about whether or not you can snap with a metal glove, this is a comic book. This is a super villain. Magical gems. Guess what? Yeah, you can snap with the Thanos glove. Why? He's got magic gems on there. He's got magic gems that let him teleport. Of course he can snap. He can do anything else he wants to do. This is stupid. And this is what we spent money on, folks. This is important because at the end of the year, they don't think you're paying attention. At the end of the year, they don't think you're paying attention. They don't think you're noticing what's happening. The problem is there are people paying attention to it. There are people who are seeing everything you're doing, and they're just lining up to take your money. And they're watching the world burn because there's no leaders. You mean nobody had the balls to say, I think that's a stupid idea. I think it's a stupid idea to spend money to find out if a comic book character can snap his fingers. Really? That you even have to have a conversation? And how it costs $118,000 to figure out if somebody in a glove wearing a metal glove can snap their fingers. I don't understand. How do you waste that much money on something that stupid? But it's the fact that there's no leadership. They knew no one was going to call them out, that no one was going to stop them. That when they started spending the money and everyone said, yeah, sure, just keep spending, they didn't care. They didn't care. And if they don't care about that, what the hell do they care about? I mean, seriously, they don't care about spending money on a couple of cosplayers snapping their fingers with a metal glove. Think they care about whether or not you're able to feed your think they care about how much you have to spend when you go to the grocery store? Do you think that they care about you, or are they more worried about people in Pakistan, or people in Venezuela, or people at our southern border entering our nation illegally? Which one do you think they care more about? You or those other issues? They're more concerned about their feelings than anything else. They don't care about you. Yeah, your texts are a little bit behind. I love it. My boy's just like, yeah, I'm texting, but I'm texting. You type slow, Mike. But this is just mind-boggling. And I know it's Christmas and everyone wants to have a good day. Trust me, folks. It's Christmas. I want to relax. And I won't be here New Year's. New Year's, I'm taking New Year's off. But 50 times a year, not counting me being shut down and being shadow banned by YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or any of those guys. Not counting suspensions, about 50 times a year. I'm here with you every Sunday. Talk about these because it's important. Because the point is, it is this lack of leadership shows up in every other thing they do. It shows up everywhere. And it affects us all the time. If you want to tell me that you want to feed kids, fantastic. Help me stop. You gotta stop spending money on stupid ideas in Pakistan. Seriously. It's that you want to feed kids? That's the easiest way. $200 million will feed a hell of a lot of kids. You want to help the homeless? I want to help the homeless. I work on that every year. I have a bunch of programs that I work on the homeless because I've been homeless. I know what that's like. You know what? Why do we have 77,000 buildings that are empty? Spend $1.7 billion a year making sure they're empty. They've got furniture, they've got lights on, there's electricity, heat. This isn't just like some shell of a building that has nothing in it. These are buildings that have electricity, heat, they have furniture. They're just empty. There's just no people. And we spend $1.7 billion here for that. Why They spent, did you know that? Here's another one that I think a lot of people didn't know about. They spent $3 million, $3 million on hamsters. Somebody gave steroids to hamsters and had them fight. They spent $3 million on that to watch hamsters fight on steroids. I don't even have words for that. I don't know what we can say about that. Other than when our government is that wasteful money, when they're just throwing money willy-nilly at everything and anything, except the things that matter, it shows up. When they're not willing to fund police, they're not willing to allow women able to defend themselves. When they're making people have passive self-defense, bulletproof vests, something that will affect no one else, it defends just you. When they're trying to take those rights away from you, and they're justifying and insisting on censoring people for daring to ask a question, and then they're wasting your money on hamsters fighting on steroids, you can't tell me that they care about you. They don't. They don't care about you. And they don't care about the rest. And I can't have a happy Christmas when I know that. And we shouldn't. Because they're making the world worse. Because all the bad guys in the world, Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, they're looking at this. They're just saying there's no school teachers. They can go do whatever they want. There's no one to stop them. No one's even trying to stop them. No one cares. Sad. Sad. Let me ask you. This is how we're ending 2020. Now, separate of my top 10 list, 10 videos, including the shorts videos out. We did the video for the year. Amazing to see some of the stories that you thought were really important, really worthwhile. But I look at, there's so many stories that they're just wasting our time. They're spending money on hamsters on steroids. They're wasting money on cosplay. They have empty buildings that could be helping hundreds of, I don't know, thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands of people that could be helped. We could be feeding kids. And instead, we're wasting money on trying to teach the world how to be woke and letting the world hell in a handbasket. Does that help anyone? Does that make sense? How can we feel good about it? I don't understand. And honestly, please, if you feel good about these things, please call me 607-242-9247. Tell me how you can feel good about these. That you think that Iran is suddenly not going to try and get rockets over to Russia and kill or try to kill Americans because we're watching hamsters on steroids. Please explain that to me. Connect this. Give me the dots that connect these things. Because I don't see the dots that connect this and make this make sense. And because we're asking the question, YouTube, Facebook, Joe Biden, they're saying that, oh, well, we're the bad guys. We've done something wrong because we're daring to ask a question. Doesn't make I wish I could happy Christmas. I wish I could have been talking fun things, but I can't because then I'd be lying to you. Don't do that. Our government, we are we are in a vortex that is sucking this nation straight to the bottom. Straight to the bottom. Kamala is eating, both are cheerleading us all the way down to the bottom. Actually, Kamala's pissed off because she's great for failing at everything. Like I showed you, her comments, she's telling us that she's great. She's great. While the government wasting our money. And so many people camping, helping out that told us in 2000 she wants to help people. Okay, where's the help? See the money being wasted, where's the help? Where's the global stability? Where's the respect around the world? I don't see any of that. I don't see anything that they promised us. And yet they're telling us stories. I don't understand. How? How is it great? Let's change up the Christmas. Let me ask you. Mike Bowie says, the border scares me more and more. We are sitting duck every one of our terrorist enemies. Well, it's worse than you think. Remember, earlier this year, there were 6 people arrested, terrorists, that entered the United States trying to kill politicians and ex-politicians in the United States. We actually caught them. We know for a fact that there are terrorists who entered the southern border to try and kill American politicians. We know this. This is a fact. Story came out over the summer. We covered it. So, yeah, are sitting. Those were the 6 caught. We have 5 million people that came in that we caught. We have 9,000. We have lines of people in El Paso trying to enter that city per day. 9,000 people per day. How many are getting through? How many are people that don't think America, good nation, worthy nation? How many of them are people who want to end America? Whether you're progressive or not, they don't care. Because the Ayatollah doesn't care. He wants to get rid of America. Whether you're gay or straight, whether you're progressive, white, black, he doesn't care. You're an American. That's it. All he needs is you are an American and do not believe what he believes. And he's not the only one that has. That's the same thing that North Korea, Kim Jong-un, believes. That's the same thing that the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, Chairman Xi Jinping, Chairman Xi, he has the same idea. Don't believe what he believes, you're a bad guy. Get rid of it. That's what we're seeing around the world right now. Yeah, we should be terrified. And we know we have more than billions on empty buildings. And we're spending millions to watch hamsters fight on steroids. And we are watching and seeing that people are cosplaying public dime. We've got them. We've got money. I mean, if we're going to go into debt, I want to go into debt because we decided to house all of the homeless in those 77,000 government buildings. You want to go in debt? That's something I would go in debt. You know what? I want to go in debt. Let's take the $200 million. Instead of giving it to Pakistan, we go and feed all the kids, all the poor kids in America. $200 million, I'd feed them a bunch of breakfast. Maybe a bunch of lunches. I'd rather spend the money there. If we have to bankrupt this nation, increase inflation, increase the interest rates, go into a recession that is going to be several years long, if we're going to do that with $32 trillion in debt, if we're going to do that, let's at least do it helping people, actually giving people. You know what? If we spent $200 million on the homeless in America, which is more money than it needs to be, we could solve homelessness with $20 billion. We really could. We could make the houses and give the opportunity to spend another $100 million, $100 billion on mental health. We could fix this for less than $200 billion. We could do it. Let's take the money and instead of spending it on other nations, spend it on America. The other nations around the world see that and they would copy because it's a good thing to do. Because it's leadership, it's moral. Who doesn't want to feed poor kids? No one. No one doesn't want that. But we're not spending money on that. Spending money on gender studies. Our priorities are so out of whack. We're giving $50 million to a country, Venezuela, that's starving its own people, and the government is killing its own people. That is a fact. Know that they're doing this. We're giving them $50 million. Why in the hell would we give them money? Why are we spending $50 billion on the Ukraine, where we gain nothing? No matter whether Ukraine wins, loses, or it's a draw, we get nothing. Why are we spending? Seriously. My boy says they're still targeting Trump while Biden is selling out to China. Is Trump even relevant anymore? He isn't. Look, President Trump was a good president. He was. You don't have to like him personally. Care less. Whether you like him or not, doesn't matter. I don't think is he the best buddy person? No. You don't have to like Orange Man bad. Don't. But guess what? No matter how many mean tweets he had, good president. At the end of the day, add up the math, do it all. The mean tweets do not equal global instability. Joe Biden doesn't tweet mean things. The world is going to hell in a handbasket. Gee, which one am I more worried about? Twitter, where the FBI is manipulating it anyway, or global stability? Guess what? I'll take global stability every day. Give me a bunch of mean tweets, say horrible things, and make the world secure. That's a trade-off I'm happy to. And I don't know of anyone who wouldn't do that. But instead, we're getting the opposite. Doesn't matter. They want to tell me Trump is ever. Why? Because you didn't like the tweets. You didn't like what he say. You don't like politics. So what? Your feelings were boo-hoo for you. Care less. Your feelings were hurt. And my feelings were hurt by a lot of things that Obama has said, AOC has said, Cory Bush, that the entire squad says. Some people hurt when Joe Biden was down at the Reichstag in Philadelphia saying that if you didn't agree with him, you're a demon. I'm sure there were a bunch of black people when Joe Biden said that they weren't black because they weren't voting for him, or when he said that blacks and Hispanics were too stupid to use the internet on CNN with Don Lemon in a town hall. Pretty sure just that. No one was worried about anyone's feelings then. If you were black and you were offended, they weren't worried about that because he said it anyway. Let's not talk about feelings. Feelings aren't important. Effectiveness really is. And I want to see more people. But spending money stupidly isn't getting us. I want to see people on earth and not having any kind of leadership, not getting us there. Helping our enemies, literally funding our enemies, giving more power to our enemies, like in Iran, where Biden administration actively still put together the Iran nuclear deal, trying to make that happen, isn't helping the women of Iran who are getting beaten to death for showing their hair. It's not helping the protesters in Iran who are trying to stand up for those women. It's not helping them by saying we're going to give Iran $100 billion for global terror. They sign their name on the dotted line that says they won't make a nuke. That's not helping anyone. It's not making people safe. But I'm the bad guy for saying that. Sense. I don't know. It's Christmas. And I know this is somewhat depressing. It's somewhat upsetting. We've been talking about the money in the omnibus spending. We were talking about what's happening in the world in terms of ability. That this is carrying through. And in 2023, we're going to see things aren't ending. Yeah, it's Christmas. And problems that are happening right now are going to happen in 2023 because people are too busy. I know we all want to take the break, and because we're so busy taking Christmas, we're watching. They're taking advantage of everything, and they're doing these stupid ideas. They're pushing stupid agendas that are making things worse. They're dividing our nation, making the world weaker. Even as it gets more violent and more confused and I really do. Wish I could get rid of the reverb sound and fix this for 2023. Promise. Connected politicians that are so much like, Prime Minister of England, Rishi Sunak, that don't understand who they're they're doing. Yeah, he goes out and he's making food for the homeless people, they're working. Just indicative of disconnect going on right now. It's like Kamala Harris is saying, but no one's telling her great. Even though she hasn't done anything to be told she's great or good. She's failed at everything she's done. And she wants to be told she's great. Can't hear me? Sorry, hot chicks. I know the volume's low. You know what? Let's end this on a good note. Let's end this on a good note. This is frustrating. And it is Christmas. And we should have some. I know, this is why they passed it over Christmas, because they don't want anyone to see the budget. They don't want anyone to think about the budget. They don't want anyone to read that or the Twitter files. It's one of the reasons why they are hiding that from the public. And that's why we have to pay attention. That's why I'm talking about it here on Christmas Eve. I'm talking because we need to talk. And maybe people see it on live, maybe you see it afterwards, whatever the case may be. And I'm always happy to hear your comments. But it is Christmas. Say this. If, whatever reason, if for any reason during the holiday, I know this is the hard stretch, this is the rough stretch in the year. I know this next week is tough. If you feel like harming yourself, if you harm someone else, if you're taking alcohol, drugs, reach out. Any of those numbers are national hotlines. Reach out and just ask them. If you don't want to talk to a stranger on one of those on the national hotlines, reach out to friends. Tell them that you're not need that you need to talk to. Because this is one of the worst in the year for suicide. One of the worst years in domestic substance. Very difficult time for pressures about work, about money. I know, I feel it. I'm poor as hell. I'm in debt up everyone else is. I understand. I haven't been working since 2020. I get it. I know how you feel. I know that inflation and credit cards and interest rates are on your back right now. I'm telling you, you got to talk to someone. Help them. Yes, happy life. I know the audio's cutting out. No, we will fix this for 2023, which is a week away. Fix this. One way or the other, I will have the audio fixed. And I apologize and I thank everyone for putting up with it. Problem. But again, if you are not feeling well to someone, and again, I'm showing you the numbers, and you can look at any video that we've done over the last 2 years. That is always the first thing on the screen, those phone numbers, so that you can watch any video. Always have those numbers available. So that if someone's saying, "Oh, well, what are you watching?" I'm looking at any of this, so that worried about someone looking over your. Always go beginning of the video. But I do appreciate. Thank you, every single, for taking the time to be on, for spending time. Trying to do. And I'm one guy. Sometimes audio's screwed. And I hope you like. I know that affected the entity and apologize. But you know what? Love you guys. Really do. Oops. Hang on a sec. Excuse me once. But trying to fix the audio and the audio. See, I'm going to strip down my entire computer and rebuild it. All right. So I do want to say thank you. Say thank you properly. Come on. I know you've heard it before. What difference you make when you watch, chat, tweets, your likes and shares and subscription. You, difference. From across the world, you help us lights on and the stream live. You making a difference to folk, see legislation, see we at No Sound. And I want to thank you for everything in helping us reach our goal and likes, tweets, comments, and your subscriptions. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And this is a special thank you to those who donated to the channel, helped us in all of our efforts. We will strive to make this channel best that possibly because you deserve it. Thank you. So, I know you. I know, folks. So, I do thank you and everyone for being with me 50 weeks out of the entire year, going through all the weeks. Thank you, John. John, I see you there. I appreciate it. Thank you. We broke 1,000 this year. We should did the top 10 list. I hope you guys enjoy that as good as it can be. I hope you enjoy the shorts that we've done on the program and that you'll be able to see the videos John Lucia has done. I think they've been great. Going into the new year, we're going to try and grow and better, fix audio, I'm going to strip down my entire computer so that we can come back stronger and better, do things great for you. I thank you guys. I really do. Appreciate it. Spent some time over this holiday. This video, maybe you'll see some others that we've done throughout the year. See some of the things we've been warning about and talking about. Please remember, go out every time you buy food, buy 10% more. Don't panic. Don't buy it all. Come with more wheat, some canned food. Will still make a food crisis 1 year event. It's not something that ends at the be prepared for that. Plan for that. Even though our leaders aren't telling you that, plan for that. We have a recession that we have been in since through most of this year, and we're going to be in until 2020. Plan for that. Think ahead. We're going to be here. We're going to do our very best. We appreciate you're with us, especially here on the holidays like we are, and even when you're not. Trust me, how do you feel? Feel like you're alone. You're never alone. Because like you, I'm here. And I will be speak with you about all the issues. Kicking off New Year's, other than that, I'm here for you. Talk about these because you matter and you always call into the program. Folks, I want you to enjoy the rest. I want you to have in the back of your mind to make things better. You have to remember, someone is always paying attention. Can't do these stupid things that are hurting the world without us noticing. They are being watched. And I will tell you, in 2023, we're going to be sending out that election reform bill, 537 members of Congress, because we can make the difference. You make the difference. You are the difference. Your support. So with that said, say thank you. Great Christmas, everybody. Add Hanukkah. I hope you have Hanukkah. Kwanzaa is. I want you to be happy. If I don't speak to you for the New Year, I want fantastic New Year's Eve. That's safe, fun, bring in the new year, people you love, lots of joy at all. I'm looking forward to it. Folks, thank you. You have a great evening.